दोस्त इंडिया में 3 मिलियन से ज्यादा रजिस्टर्ड एनजीओज हैं
3 million? That's a huge number.
It is. That's more than the number of schools and hospitals combined. Can you even believe it?
Wow. ये गवर्नमेंट के बाद potentially the second largest employer बन सकते हैं, है ना कमाल की बात?
बिल्कुल. That's a perspective not many people think about.
तो चलो इस अमेजिंग टॉपिक में एक रियल डीप डाइव करने से पहले एक छोटा सा काम कर दो, जल्दी से सब्सक्राइब बटन दबा दो,
हाँ, और लाइक भी.
लाइक ठोको और नोटिफिकेशन बेल ऑन कर लो ताकि आप कोई भी इनसाइट मिस ना करो. लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for today. आज हम सिविल सोसाइटी एंड गवर्नेंस के कॉम्प्लेक्स बट सच में फैसिनेटिंग वर्ल्ड को डिकोड करेंगे.
आई कांट वेट.
And हमारा learning map is crystal clear. We will unpack 8 critical questions one by one, building a complete picture. Okay, lay it on us. What's the map?
फर्स्ट, सबसे बड़ा सवाल, CSOs आर दे एंटी स्टेट और नॉन स्टेट?
The classic dilemma.
सेकंड, वुमेन्स पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन में CSOs का क्या क्रूशियल रोल है?
Very important.
थर्ड, कैन CSOs become an alternative model for public service delivery? मतलब कैन दे रिप्लेस द गवर्नमेंट?
Ooh, controversial.
फोर्थ, क्या नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स का रोल सच में मार्जिनल है या ये बस एक मिथ है?
We'll bust that myth, I hope.
फिफ्थ, FCRA के नए रूल्स और उनका इम्पैक्ट क्या है? दिस इज अ रियली हॉट टॉपिक.
Definitely.
सिक्स्थ, एनवायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन में NGOs को कैसे स्ट्रेंथन करें?
Our green warriors.
सेवेंथ, पब्लिक चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट्स और इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट का क्या कनेक्शन है?
A slightly different angle. Nice.
एंड फाइनली द बिग डिबेट, डोनर एजेंसीज वर्सेस कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन.
The ultimate tug of war.
रेडियो फॉर दिस मैसिव डीप डाइव.
Let's do it. चलो शुरू करते हैं पहले सवाल से जो इन सब की आई थिंक फाउंडेशन है. Question. Civil society organizations are often perceived as being anti-state actors than non-state actors. Do you agree? Justify. GS2 Governance 2025 10 marks.
The broad micro theme here is state CSO relationship dynamics.
Friend or foe, CSOs का असली चेहरा. This is going to be super interesting. तो शुरू करने के लिए what exactly is a CSO for someone who's completely new to this?
Great starting point. देखो, CSOs यानी civil society organizations are basically voluntary groups that operate independently from the government.
Independent is the key word here.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. They are the voice of the people between elections. सोचो, they are like society's watchdogs.
Watchdogs, I like that.
हाँ, जो गवर्नमेंट के काम पर नजर रखते हैं and keep them accountable.
I see. So they are supposed to be like referees in a game, not players on the opposing team?
That's a perfect analogy.
A perfect example that comes to my mind is the Akshaya Patra Foundation.
Oh, brilliant example.
They partner with the government's midday meal scheme, serving food to 1.8 million children every single day. ये government के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, not against them. That's a partnership.
Precisely. That example perfectly captures the non-state partner idea. So a great answer के लिए, let's break it down into 3 parts.
Okay.
First, the introduction. You should define CSOs as these non-state voluntary groups. The ideal situation is that they work with the government. But
There's always a but.
there is, and this is the key. You must immediately mention the existing tension. A powerful piece of data to quote here is the cancellation of over 6,000 NGO FCRA licenses in 2023.
Wow, 6,000. That's a huge number.
It is. और ये data immediately examiner को बताता है कि you understand the complexity of the relationship. It's a great hook.
Got it. So start with the ideal, but immediately introduce the reality of the friction. Now let's get into the body of the answer. How should we structure the main argument?
A fantastic way to structure it is to create 2 clear sections. The first section will build the case for CSOs as non-state actors.
Okay, the partner side of the story.
Exactly. And here, we can see 2 main roles they play. The first is a complementary governance role.
Complementary, so they fill the gaps.
Yes. We already mentioned Akshaya Patra for service delivery. Another brilliant example is SEWA, the Self-Employed Women's Association.
Oh yes, Seva is amazing.
They help in policy implementation by facilitating financial inclusion through the Jan Dhan Yojana. फिर है प्रथम, जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स के साथ फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी इंप्रूव करने पे कोलैबोरेट करता है.
Right.
और हाँ, मजदूर किसान शक्ति संगठन MKSS for their pioneering work in social audits for MGNREGA. ये सब गवर्नमेंट के पार्टनर्स हैं.
Wow, those are solid examples. और एक CSO को specific government scheme से link करना, जैसे सेवा with Jan Dhan Yojana, that must make the answer really strong, right?
You've got it.
It shows concrete proof of collaboration, not just, abstract ideas.
Exactly. It moves the answer from they can help to here's exactly how they are helping.
Makes a world of difference.
Now the second role under this non-state actor heading is democratic participation.
Okay, so strengthening democracy itself.
Yes. यहाँ CSO strengthen the very roots of our democracy. The Association for Democratic Reforms, or ADR, is famous for its work on voter awareness.
ADR reports are everywhere during elections.
Bilkul. Then you have citizen forums that support grievance redressal. And don't forget Goonj, which coordinated with the NDMA during the COVID-19 pandemic for disaster response.
Right.
All these activities strengthen democracy. Samjhe, they are not opposing the state, they are making it better.
Okay, that's a very strong case for them being non-state partners. But the question is about the perception of them being anti-state. So let's unpack the other side. फिर उन्हें anti-state क्यों समझा जाता है?
यहाँ चीजें really interesting हो जाती हैं. This perception comes from 2 main sources: regulatory tensions and institutional friction.
Okay, let's break those down. What are regulatory tensions?
Under regulatory tensions, the biggest issue is the FCRA restrictions. Organizations like Oxfam India and Greenpeace.
I remember the Greenpeace case. It was all over the news.
They lost their licenses, often because their environmental or human rights advocacy was seen as problematic by the establishment. फिर सेडिशन एलिगेशंस भी हैं अगेंस्ट एक्टिविस्ट्स फॉर देयर आरटीआई कैंपेन्स, और फॉरेन फंडिंग की इंटेंस स्क्रूटनी तो है ही।
Right. So Greenpeace would be a powerful example to quote for this tension side.
Absolutely, it's well known and impactful. Now, what about institutional friction? That sounds like a direct clash.
Yeah, it does.
It is. This friction happens when CSOs use tools to demand accountability. For example, filing RTI applications to question government expenditure.
Well, is their job as a watchdog?
Precisely. Or when they criticize government policies. For instance, human rights organizations highlighting governance gaps in Kashmir. Or, of course, filing public interest litigations or pills that challenge government policies on issues like pollution or displacement.
So it's their watchdog role that, by its very nature, creates this friction.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense. So उनका काम ही ऐसा है कि वो government के bad books में आ जाते हैं. Which brings us to a crucial point for the conclusion. Why is it so important to differentiate between criticism and opposition?
Because that's the core of the entire argument. The role of a CSO is to provide constructive criticism, to improve governance, not blind opposition to overthrow it.
Right.
Making that distinction shows a nuanced understanding of democratic principles. It shows you're a mature thinker.
I see. So how should the conclusion tie it all together?
The conclusion should state that the perception of CSOs as anti-state arises when their constructive criticism is mistaken for opposition.
Simple and clear.
और आंसर को एक पॉजिटिव फॉरवर्ड-लुकिंग नोट पर एंड करना चाहिए. A vibrant civil society is not a threat, but an essential pillar of a robust democracy. The state should engage CSOs as partners, not as adversaries.
That's a powerful way to end it. So for a student writing this, a final structural question. Using contrasting phrases like adversary versus partner in the conclusion, is that a good idea? Does it add value?
Definitely. It's a great technique. It creates a powerful summary of your entire argument. It shows strong analytical skill and leaves a lasting impression. It's a classic technique for a strong finish.
Brilliant. Okay, practice time for everyone listening. Rehearse this with me. Now pause and practice saying, CSOs act as partners in governance by complementing service delivery and strengthening democracy, but are often perceived as anti-state due to regulatory tensions and their essential role as government watchdogs.
Perfect. And for a mini recap, in short, CSOs aren't just one thing. They are both democracy's partners and its most important critics. And that dual role is what makes them so vital.
Excellent. That sets a really strong foundation. Now let's build on that and look at a specific area where CSOs are making a huge impact. This one is from 2023. Question. Discuss the contribution of civil society groups for women's effective and meaningful participation and representation in state legislature in India. GS2, Social Justice 2023, 15 marks.
The broad micro-theme for this is gender politics and civil society's role.
Politics, में women power, CSOs का साथ, this is such a critical topic. India's population is almost 50% women. But when you look at politics, especially state assemblies, the numbers are just shocking.
Truly. It's a massive gap. And civil society groups or CSGs are the crucial players trying to fix this. They're the ones on the ground fighting the good fight.
Absolutely. And we see them in action all the time. For example, groups like Shakti and the Association for Democratic Reforms, ADR.
Yes.
है ना? They have been campaigning relentlessly for the women's reservation bill. They are making so much noise and it's awesome, right?
Exactly. That's a perfect example of the advocacy work. So for the answer structure, let's follow our three-part analysis.
Okay.
The introduction should start with that hard-hitting statistic. Women are nearly 50% of the population, but severely underrepresented. Then, immediately introduce CSGs as the key change makers.
Set the stage with the problem and the hero.
Precisely. Now, the body of this answer needs to be very comprehensive, as it's a 15-marker. We can think of the CSG's contribution as a multi-pronged attack.
A multi-pronged attack. I like that. So instead of just listing 10 random points, we can group them thematically. Maybe something like fighting from the top, building from the bottom, and changing the narrative.
That's a brilliant way to structure it. It makes the answer so much more logical and easy to remember. Let's do that.
Great. So what's the first prong?
Prong 1. Fighting from the top, policy advocacy. This is the big one. As you mentioned, Shakti and ADR campaigning for the Women's Reservation Bill is the prime example. They lobby with political parties, they file petitions, they create a national conversation. This is high-level, systemic change.
Right, changing the rules of the game itself. What's the second prong?
Prong 2. Building from the bottom, capacity building. It's not just about getting a seat at the table, it's about being effective once you're there.
Super important point.
Think of NGOs like the Hunger Project or Jagori. They run leadership training programs for women at the grassroots level. फिर आते हैं groups like Mahila Samakhya, जो hand-holding post-election provide करते हैं.
Hand-holding? What does that involve?
It means they offer support with legal aid, RTI training, and navigating bureaucracy for newly elected women. They are literally building an army of women leaders from the ground up.
I love that. So it's a complete pipeline of leadership. Now what about the third prong? Changing the narrative.
This might be the most important one. Prong 3. Changing the public narrative. This involves several things. First, monitoring and data reporting.
How does that help?
Groups like ADR and Common Cause publish reports that name and shame political parties for fielding very few women candidates. This data puts public pressure on them.
Public pressure is key.
Bilkul. Second is media engagement. For example, Khabar Lahariya, a digital rural news network run by women, spotlights women's political journeys and helps normalize female leadership.
Oh, I've heard of them. They do amazing work.
And third is raising voter awareness. CSOs run huge campaigns to make women aware of their voting power, creating a demand for female candidates from the electorate itself.
This three-pronged structure, policy, capacity, and narrative, is so much more memorable than a long list. But there's one point, intersectional mobilization, that I find very important. Where does that fit in?
Excellent question. That's the soul of the entire effort. It cuts across all three prongs.
How so?
It's about ensuring that this push for representation isn't just for urban or upper caste women. Groups like Dalit Women Fight and Nazariya work with Dalit, Adivasi, Muslim, and LGBTQ+ women.
That's so crucial.
It makes the movement truly inclusive and powerful. It shows a deep understanding of Indian society, which is crucial for a high-scoring answer.
Fantastic. So for the conclusion, how do we wrap this up? And is it a good idea to connect it to a larger global goal?
Absolutely. The conclusion should state that while CSGs have created an enabling environment, significant challenges remain. And yes, linking their work to the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically SDG 5 on gender equality, is a fantastic way to elevate the answer.
Why is that link important?
Because it shows that this work is not happening in a vacuum. It's part of a worldwide effort to strengthen democracy and achieve gender equality. It adds a global context and shows vision.
Okay, practice time. Pause the audio and let's try to say this together. Ready? Practice saying, CSGs enhance women's political participation through a multi-pronged strategy of top-down policy advocacy, bottom-up capacity building, and changing the public narrative.
Perfect. And the mini recap? In short, from lobbying for laws in Delhi to training grassroots leaders in villages, CSOs are building the ladder rung by rung for women to climb in Indian politics.
Let's move to the next one, from 2021, which asks a very fundamental question about the role of NGOs. Question: can civil society and non-governmental organizations present an alternative model of public service delivery to benefit the common citizen? Discuss the challenges of this alternative model. GS2 Governance 2021, 15 marks.
The micro theme for this is CSOs as service providers, pros and cons.
Sarkar ka alternative. NGOs on the job. This is so relevant. We see organizations like Pratham doing revolutionary work in education. Are they becoming a parallel government in some ways?
That's the core of the question. Can NGOs take the place of the government in providing public services? And if they do, what are the challenges?
So how should we start the answer?
The introduction should acknowledge that CSOs have emerged as crucial partners, especially for last-mile connectivity. Matlab, they reach where the government sometimes can't.
Makes sense. Now for the body. The question has two clear parts: the alternative model and its challenges. So we need to give equal weightage to both, right?
Yes, a 50-50 split is ideal for a 15-marker. Let's start with the advantages, why they can be a great alternative.
Okay, what's the first advantage?
First big advantage is community engagement. Studies show a 30% increase in the effectiveness of interventions when NGOs are involved.
30%? That's a lot. Why is that?
Because they have a strong ground-level connect. They build trust. Second is innovation and flexibility. NGOs aren't bound by rigid government rules, so they can experiment.
For example?
Think of mobile health clinics or using tablets for education in remote villages. They can adapt very quickly.
And using data like that 30% increase, how important is that for an answer?
It's extremely important. It makes your answer authentic and data-backed, not just a collection of opinions. It shows you've done your research.
Got it. What's the third advantage?
The third advantage is cost effectiveness. Akshay Patra's midday meal program is a great example. Their lower administrative overheads help them optimize resources. And fourth, they have specialized expertise.
Meaning?
An NGO working only on water conservation will have deeper knowledge than a generalist government department. They are subject matter experts.
Okay, that's a strong case for them as an alternative. Now for the second part, the challenges. This is where the critical analysis comes in.
Absolutely. The biggest challenge is financial sustainability. Most NGOs run on unpredictable grants and donations, which makes long-term planning very difficult. And we've already discussed the complex FCRA regulations.
Right, the funding issue again. What's next?
The second challenge is operational constraints. They often have limited manpower and can't match government salaries, so retaining skilled professionals is tough. Or फिर scale का issue है.
The problem of scale. Can you explain that?
An NGO can run 10 great schools, but can it run 10,000 schools across a state? The government has the infrastructure for scale that most NGOs lack.
That's a huge point. And I assume dealing with the government itself can be a challenge?
Yes, that's the third point. Regulatory and administrative burden. There are multiple compliance requirements and complex registration processes. And fourth, there are trust and accountability issues.
How so?
There can be public skepticism about how NGOs use their funds, and they constantly need to prove their transparency. This takes up a lot of their time and resources.
So, given these massive challenges, what's the conclusion? Can they be an alternative or not?
The conclusion is that it's not about NGOs replacing the government. The best path forward is a symbiotic relationship or a hybrid model.
A hybrid model? What does that look like?
It's where the government provides the scale and funds, and the NGO provides the innovation and last-mile connectivity. Success stories like Seva and Pratham show this is possible. It's about partnership, not replacement.
That's a very clear and balanced conclusion. Okay, time to rehearse this. Pause and practice saying, while NGOs offer an innovative and community-centric model for service delivery, they face significant challenges of financial sustainability, operational scale, and regulatory burdens.
Perfect. And here's the mini recap. In short, NGOs can be super effective service providers, but they are more like agile speedboats that work best alongside the government's giant ship, not in place of it.
I love that analogy. On to our fourth question, which has a slightly controversial tone. This is from 2016. Question. In the Indian governance system, the role of non-state actors has been only marginal. Critically examine this statement. GS2 Governance 2016, 12.5 marks.
The micro theme is evaluating the impact of non-state actors.
Marginal players or main heroes? The big verdict on non-state actors. Honestly, this statement sounds just plain wrong to me.
It's designed to be provocative.
How can their role be marginal? Just think about the Vanashakti NGO. Their petition led the Supreme Court to review a pesticide ban in 2023. That's a huge policy-level impact. How is that marginal?
You've hit the nail on the head. So, for a question like this, with an extreme claim, the best approach is to directly refute the statement in the introduction.
So no beating around the bush.
None. Start by disagreeing and back it up with a powerful piece of data. For instance, as of 2023, India had over 187,000 registered NGOs. With this scale, their role cannot be marginal.
So take a strong stand from the get-go. I like it. Then, in the body, we build the case against this statement with a mountain of evidence.
Correct. We can structure the body by showing their significant contributions across different domains. First, policy advocacy and implementation.
Like the Vanashakti example.
Yes, और उससे भी बड़ा. The entire RTI Act was born out of a movement led by a CSO, the MKSS. That's not marginal. That's foundational.
Absolutely foundational. What else?
Second, service delivery in governance gaps where they reach remote areas the state struggles to. And third, resource mobilization through CSR and philanthropy, which adds thousands of crores to the social sector.
Okay, that's a strong refutation. But the question says, critically examine. Does that mean we also have to briefly acknowledge why someone might think their role is marginal?
That's a very sharp point, and yes, that's what makes it a critical examination. It shows you're not one-sided.
So how do we do that without weakening our main argument?
After presenting your main argument, you can add a small section on the challenges and limitations they face. This would include the tough regulatory framework, like FCRA, and coordination issues with the government.
Okay.
The clever part is how you frame it. You say, despite facing these significant hurdles, their contribution is still substantial, which further proves their role is anything but marginal.
I see. So you turn the challenges into further proof of their importance. That's smart.
It shows analytical depth.
So for the conclusion.
The conclusion should reiterate that the statement is incorrect. A great phrase to use is that non-state actors are indispensable partners in India's development journey, especially for achieving the SDGs.
And not marginal players.
They are not marginal players, they are co-protagonists.
Co-protagonists. I love that. Okay, time for everyone listening to practice. Pause and practice saying this. The statement that the role of non-state actors is marginal is incorrect. They are indispensable partners who have made foundational contributions to policy, service delivery, and accountability.
And the mini recap is simple. In short, non-state actors aren't side characters waiting in the wings. They are co-protagonists on the main stage of India's development story.
FCRA has come up so many times. It's like the elephant in the room for this entire topic. So let's tackle it head-on with this question from 2015. Question. Examine critically the recent changes in the rule governing foreign funding of NGOs under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, FCRA 1976. GS2 Indian Polity 2015, 12.5 marks.
Microtheme, regulation and control of NGOs.
FCRA ka Chakravyu, a maze of transparency and trouble. This is a big deal. These changes are so strict that since 1976, over 20,700 NGO licenses have been cancelled. That's a massive number.
It is. It has really shaken up the entire sector. So let's break down the answer. The introduction should state the stated purpose of the FCRA amendments.
Which is?
To increase transparency and accountability in foreign funding, it's important to start with the government's official rationale.
Right. Present their side first. Now for the body. We need to detail the changes and then critically examine them, which means looking at both the positives and the negatives.
Right. Exactly. First, we outline the key changes. This includes enhanced documentation requirements like Forms FC3A, 3B, and stringent compliance measures.
Wait, is it important to remember the exact form numbers?
If you can, it's brilliant. It shows deep knowledge. But if not, just mentioning enhanced documentation is also good enough. The concept is more important.
Got it. Now for the critically examine part. Let's start with the positive implications from the government's perspective.
The argument is that these changes lead to improved transparency in tracking foreign funds. This leads to enhanced accountability, preventing misuse of funds.
And the main justification?
The ultimate goal is better governance and protecting national security by preventing funds from being used for anti-national activities. It's crucial to mention national security as it's the core justification provided.
Okay, that's the government side of the story. But what are the challenges and concerns for the NGOs? This is the critical part of the examination.
The primary concern is the massive administrative burden. This complex paperwork can be overwhelming for smaller NGOs, distracting them from their actual fieldwork.
So it creates operational problems.
Yes, which leads to operational constraints, and this is where you use that powerful statistic of over 20,000 license cancellations. And finally, there's the issue of limited accessibility with very stringent filtering that might be keeping out legitimate organizations as well.
So it's a classic case of a double-edged sword. For the conclusion, how do we find a balance? What's the way forward?
The conclusion needs a balanced approach. It should acknowledge that monitoring foreign funds is important for national security. However,
But
it should also emphasize that these regulations shouldn't become a tool to stifle the legitimate and vital activities of NGOs. The way forward is to find a middle path, perhaps by using technology to simplify compliance that ensures security without strangling civil society.
that makes sense. It's about finding that sweet spot. All right, let's practice, everyone. Pause and try saying, recent FCRA amendments aim to increase transparency for national security, but they have also created significant administrative burdens and operational constraints for many legitimate NGOs.
Great. And the mini recap is, in short, FCRA is a tightrope walk between ensuring national security on one side and enabling a vibrant civil society on the other.
So we see how this battle over funding puts immense pressure on NGOs. And nowhere is that pressure more intense than in environmental activism, where these groups often go head-to-head with powerful interests. This brings us to our next question. How can the role of NGOs be strengthened in India for development works relating to the protection of the environment? Discuss throwing light on the major constraints. GS2 Governance 2015, 12.5 marks.
Microtheme, Green Warriors, NGOs in Environmental Governance.
Saving the planet. How to power up India's NGOs. The legacy here is legendary, right? The Chipko movement, Narmada Bachao Andolan.
Absolutely. Those movements are foundational. They are in our textbooks for a reason.
Exactly. So for the introduction, we should state that NGOs act as a vital bridge between government policies and grassroots environmental action.
Yes.
They are the foot soldiers on the ground.
Perfect start.
Okay, the question has two equal parts, strengthening measures and constraints. So we need a balanced structure, right? Give equal weightage to both.
Yes, absolutely. The question asks for both. So a balanced structure is key for a good score. Let's start with the first part. How can we power them up?
Okay, how?
We can break this down into three key areas of support. First is financial support and sustainability. This means creating transparent public-private partnerships to ensure a sustainable flow of funds.
So a more reliable source of money.
Exactly. Second is capacity building. This is about providing technical training, facilitating knowledge-sharing platforms, and supporting their research through academic collaborations. Money and skills, basically.
So money and skills. What's the third area of support?
The third is legal and administrative support. This is about making their life easier.
Less red tape.
Streamlining registration and compliance. Maybe creating a single window clearance system for their projects. And establishing dedicated NGO cells within government environmental departments to improve coordination.
That sounds like a comprehensive support system. Now let's look at the second half, the major constraints. What's holding our green warriors back?
The constraints can be grouped into four categories. First, as always, financial challenges, irregular funding, and the complex FCRA regulations.
That's a recurring theme.
It is. Second, operational hurdles, a shortage of skilled experts and limited infrastructure. Third, and this is very important in this sector, regulatory and political challenges.
What does that mean exactly?
There's often intense political interference, especially when they challenge large industrial or mining projects. They're often seen as anti-development.
Right. And the fourth constraint?
Social and trust issues, as sometimes it can be hard to ensure full community participation, or they might face opposition from local groups with different interests.
A tough road indeed. So, for the conclusion, what's the message?
The way forward is collaborative governance, a model where NGOs, government, and local communities work together as partners. The government needs to see NGOs not as critics or contractors, but as equal partners in planning, implementing, and monitoring environmental policies.
Perfect. So the key is partnership. Okay, time to rehearse. Pause and try this. To strengthen environmental NGOs, we need to provide robust financial and legal support while simultaneously addressing constraints like irregular funding and political interference.
Excellent. And the mini recap is, in short, to empower our green warriors, we must give them the right weapons, like funds and support, and a clear battlefield with less red tape.
Moving on to a slightly different legal entity with a similar purpose. This is from 2024. Question: Public charitable trusts have the potential to make India's development more inclusive. Comment: GS2, Governance 2024, 10 marks.
Microtheme: philanthropy and inclusive development.
The trust factor. How public charitable trusts drive inclusive growth. The Azim Premji Foundation is the perfect example that comes to mind.
They have done phenomenal work in rural education. That's a textbook case of inclusive development.
Exactly. That's the first example everyone should think of. So, for the introduction, we should introduce public charitable trusts, or PCTs, as powerful catalysts for inclusive growth.
Okay, now the key word in the question is comment, which, as we've discussed, invites a balanced discussion, not just praise. So we need to show both sides. Yes, even if the question sounds positive, comment means you need to provide a holistic view. Let's start with their positive role. How can we structure that?
By sector, maybe?
Perfect. We can structure their role in inclusive development by sector. In education, the Azim Premji Foundation is the go-to example. In healthcare, trusts run mobile health clinics in underserved areas. For poverty alleviation, they support skill development and microfinance. And for women empowerment, we have the great example of Seva, which is also a trust.
Right. So that's what they do. Is there something special about how they do it?
Yes, they have certain inherent advantages. First, they have more flexibility than rigid government machinery. Second, they have deep local knowledge. Third, they can mobilize private funds through philanthropy. And fourth, this is a key point.
What's that?
They are independent of electoral pressures. A trust can invest in a 20-year education program that a government thinking about the next election might not.
That's a huge strategic advantage. Okay, that's the strong positive case. Now, for the other side of the coin, the challenges.
Correct. The challenges for PCDs include a heavy regulatory burden, just like NGOs. There's also an issue of urban concentration, with many trusts focused on cities rather than remote rural areas.
Okay, any other challenges?
There's a funding dependency on a few large donors, which can sometimes influence their priorities, and some trusts lack transparency and accountability.
So for the conclusion, what's the final word?
The conclusion should be that PCTs are vital partners in development. With the right support and a robust accountability framework, like strengthening the Niti Aayog's NGO Darpan portal, they can effectively complement the state in driving inclusive growth.
Brilliant. Okay, time to practice. Pause and say this. Public charitable trusts drive inclusive development in sectors like education and healthcare by leveraging their flexibility and independence, but they face challenges of regulation and urban concentration.
And the mini recap for this is, in short, PCTs are like agile speedboats of development, capable of reaching shores that the big government ship sometimes cannot.
And very important question for today, which gets to the heart of development philosophy. This is from 2022. Question. Do you agree with the view that increasing dependence on donor agencies for development reduces the importance of community participation? Justify your answer. GS2, Governance 2022, 15 marks.
The micro theme for this one is sustainable development, top-down versus bottom-up.
Paisa bahar se, power kiske paas? Donor funds versus community voice? This is a classic dilemma. We've all heard stories of a donor-funded water pump that breaks down and no one fixes it.
Because the local community was never involved.
Exactly. They don't feel any ownership over it.
Precisely. That example captures the entire problem.
Yeah.
So the introduction should acknowledge this complex dynamic. It should state that while donor funding is often necessary, excessive dependence can indeed risk undermining local ownership and sustainability.
Okay. Now, the question asks, do you agree? So we have to take a clear but nuanced stance. What's the best way to do that?
The best stance is to agree that there is a significant risk, but also argue that it's not an inevitable outcome. The relationship can be managed properly.
I see. So, yes, but?
Exactly. So in the body, we first explain why donor dependency is a problem. The first point is resource dominance, which leads to top-down priorities set by donors, not the community.
The one with the money makes the rules.
Sad, but often true. Second is the issue of project sustainability, like the water pump example. And third is asymmetric power dynamics, where the donor's technical solutions can overshadow valuable local wisdom.
Okay, so that's the agree part of the answer. Now we need to show how this can be managed. This must be where the importance of community participation comes in.
Centric development. First, it allows for local knowledge integration. The success of joint forest management programs is a testament to this.
Right.
Second, it builds social capital and strengthens local institutions. And third, it's often more cost-effective. So how do we bring these two worlds together? Through a balanced approach.
A balanced approach. How does that work in the real world? Is there a good example?
A fantastic real-world example is Kerala's People's Plan campaign, which integrates external support with decentralized community-driven planning. It's a proven model.
And what's the key principle behind it?
The focus shifts to capacity building of local institutions, not just fund disbursement. And you implement monitoring mechanisms like social audits to ensure community oversight of donor-funded projects.
So the donor's role changes completely.
Exactly. That's the main point. The conclusion should state that donors need to shift their role from being directors of development to being facilitators.
Directors to facilitators. I like that.
They should empower communities, not replace them. The success of the Kudumbashree mission in Kerala is a perfect example of how external support can strengthen community participation, not diminish it. The principle is subsidiarity. Decision should be taken at the lowest possible level.
A powerful principle. Okay, everyone. It's practice time. Now, pause and practice saying excessive donor dependency can undermine community participation, but a balanced approach centered on participatory planning and the principle of subsidiarity can create truly sustainable development.
Fantastic. And the final mini recap of the day. In short, development isn't about giving fish. It's about teaching people how to fish. Donor agencies should be the ones providing the fishing rod and the training, not just the fish.
Phew, what a marathon session. We have covered every single angle of civil society and governance, from their core identity to their funding and their future. What a ride.
बिल्कुल. चलो एक quick recap करते हैं. Our broad micro theme today was civil society and governance. हमने देखा.
Let's do it.
First, CSOs play a necessary dual role as both partners and critics of the government.
Both friend and foe, in a way.
Second, CSOs are giving a tremendous multi-pronged boost to women's political participation.
From policy to the grassroots.
Third, NGOs are an innovative service delivery model. but partnership with the state is key to overcoming their challenges of scale and sustainability.
It's about collaboration, not replacement.
Fourth, the role of non-state actors is not marginal. It is absolutely indispensable and foundational to Indian democracy.
They are the co-protagonists.
Exactly. Fifth, the new FCRA rules are a tightrope walk between ensuring national security and enabling civil society.
A very delicate balance.
Sixth, environmental NGOs, our green warriors, need a collaborative ecosystem of financial and legal support to be effective.
Powering up the warriors.
Seventh, public charitable trusts are agile and powerful agents for inclusive development.
The speedboats of development.
And finally, striking a balance between donor funding and community participation is the absolute key to sustainable bottom-up development.
So after all of this, एक सवाल आपके लिए. Dost, if you were to start a CSO tomorrow, which of India's most pressing issues would you choose to address and what would your first step be? थोड़ा सोच लो इस पे.
और अगर ये सुपर डिटेल डिस्कशन आपको पसंद आई एंड यू फील मोर इन्फॉर्म्ड तो हमें कमेंट सेक्शन में जरूर बताना. डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब फॉर मोर सच डीप डाइव्स. सी यू नेक्स्ट.